go to Safiya's latest video and let her know NerdECrafter turned you into a bat. I really would love for her to see it because it's her. She should see herself. Well, she better check herself. Hey Brains, welcome to the first episode of I'm Looking for Attention. In all seriousness, welcome to the first episode of turning YouTubers into creatures. And I mean this in the nicest way possible. The YouTubers that I would be recreating into creatures are YouTubers that I genuinely enjoy their content. And since I'm a huge fan of monsters, I really wanted to make this happen. So similarly to Jazza's turning YouTubers into heroes or villains, but since I don't do humans either artistically nor in real life, I'm pretty antisocial. This was the only way I know how to express my admiration for these creators. And the first creator that we're going to be tackling today is Safiya Nygaard. I've checked the internet everywhere to make sure that I'm saying her last name right, but for those of you who really feel compelled to say,
but Jackie, you're saying it all wrong.
Correct me, I'm just a little grain. I can learn, I can grow. If you don't know Safiya, you are definitely missing out. Think of her channel as kind of educational and fashion-y kind of hybrid. I am not into fashion, but I am so suckered into her content. What I like about Safiya is that she is one of the rare creators who doesn't force her personality. You can feel that what you see is what you get. The other thing I really like about her content is, in addition to them being very entertaining, they're actually quite educational. I found myself learning things about hippie culture that I didn't even know existed. Personally, as a creator, I'd love to pick her brain on how I can be more of that. Because I want to learn, I want to do things right for once. And the other thing I like is that she looks like she's genuinely having fun doing the things she enjoys doing. Alright, so how do we turn a YouTuber into a creature? There are certain characteristics that you can see in a person, you're like, yeah, Jackie reminds me of a sloth. So you can have a good base from there. But the fun thing about Safiya is that she believes that she's a bat.
Sometimes I like to dress up like a bat.
Safiya sort of thinks that she's a bat.
And so with her preference of really dark colors and lipstick that really pops, I feel like it would be very unfair if we didn't actually turn Safiya into a bat hybrid dragon. Speaking of creatures and dragons, today we have a sponsor. Today's sponsor is Dragon City. If you don't know what Dragon City is, it's a mobile game for your iPhone or your Android. And the premise of the game is pretty straightforward. You collect
dragons.
Not only do you collect dragons, but you can also battle for them, and then when you get them, you can breed them to create new dragons. What I like about this game is that the dragons also generate your gold. So if you're patient, you can pretty much get whatever you're looking for or any other dragon type breeds.
But Jackie, what do we do with dragons?
Well, you can feed them, level them up, and then take them to the arena to battle other people with dragons. Kind of like Pokemon. But if you're not into PvP, that is totally okay. I found this game really relaxing. Sometimes I just like to hear the music. I like to decorate my little area. And just leveling up the dragons is pretty rewarding in itself. And to keep things interesting, they have events every week. And if you're still not into other PvP and fighting against other dragons, you have auto battle mode for people who don't know much about battles like me. So if you're looking for a relaxing game, make sure you check out my link, which is right here, but also in the description box below, and start playing Dragon City for free. Again, thank you so much for the sponsorship. Sponsorship. Let's get on with our own dragon. The first thing that comes to mind is a wyvern. For some of you who don't know, there's a difference between wyvern and dragons, and wyverns have their hands, so their front legs, integrated into their wings, much like bats. Black and reds are an absolute must in this sculpture. The other thing I really wanted to integrate, because it's an important part of her life, is the proposal. So I feel it would be really fun to be able to integrate a wishing well, since that is exactly where her fiance Tyler proposed. And of course, I cannot miss the opportunity to integrate some of the ideas in the merch that they sell. So the idea of vines and roses and thorns on the dragon itself, it's a must. And so my materials of choice, as always, I will be using Sculpey clay, not affiliated, not sponsored by them, and a bunch of new paints that I picked up. I'm really excited to work with clay again because it is really one of my favorite medium, but it takes days. I had the idea of putting the dragon right in front of the well. But as I'm thinking, I really want this project to be very ambitious. I figured I wanted to have this pose a lot more dynamic. So I'm going to have the wyvern bat hover right on top of the well. And of course, to do that, I'm going to be taking a piece of wire and hammering it in to that piece of block. It's going to eventually turn into a well, so don't judge it just yet. After setting the wire in place, now what I need to do is shape the wire in the body flow that I want the wyvern to be. And since I really don't have that much space in my oven, I need to make it kind of crouching. I'm going to have the side wings somewhat spread out, but also kind of slanting. I'm going to be putting some liquid clay and a piece of clay and then shove that in the oven. That's going to make sure that our base has a little more integrity. And then I used my vintage little hammer from that craft kit we tried together. Now, before going on any further with our sculpture, it's really important that we start building all the armature with aluminum foil. Once that's done, the best way to start, I know it's scary, trust me, I am usually pretty scared when it comes to making sculptures too, but your best bet really is to just start blocking pieces together. And since I'm already using colored clay, I figured it would be really cool to go with the Sculpey accents, which is called graphite pearl and black. So it's going to make our wyvern kind of a shiny black. I'm not delusional. I know that this pose was a little ambitious for the amount of nails I put in, so we're hitting our first roadblock. And as you can see, the bottom part is a little shaky. And not only that, but the actual form of the wyvern itself doesn't want to stay centered. And I kid you not, I did what I could without having to use epoxy. But I guess next time I'll have to budget more time. Since one of the most important things to shape the head are going to be the eyes. Well, is going to be the eyes? The most important thing will be to shape the eyes. I know that Safiya's eyes are like a deep brown, but at the same time, I want this dragon to stand out. So I feel like making the eyes kind of the colors of the lipstick so that they match the inside of the ears and wings, we might be onto something. And so for that, I'm going to be using flat back cabochons, putting them on a piece of clay so that they don't move. And I'm going to paint 2 different designs so that we can see which one suits her the best. Alright, moment of truth. These 2 are supposed to be the slitty, sneaky kind of eyes. And, oh, I quite like these. Alright, so this is a definite yes for me. Let's see the other ones. And, oh, these are pretty too. Dang it. Alright, so I made the executive decision and I'm going to go with the wild type eyes as opposed to the cuter look. Bats could be cute, but they also have this air of like scary vampire. And since I associate vampires with fangs and fangs with snakes, we're going snake eye there, baby. I don't know why I said that, but that's a thing now. And since I'm really paranoid about squishing the head, the first thing I do is I place the head right on top where the wire is so that it joins the rest of the body. And then we can go ahead and shape it. That is the funnest part about putting any sculpture together. It really is putting the head. Once you start seeing the mouth, the ears, the horns, and smoothing everything in, there's just something amazing about this whole completedness. It's probably not a word, but it is a word now. Once I had the ears in, I really wanted to make sure that the whole piece was smooth, so I went in with rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip and cleaned up whatever fingerprints were there. As we're getting closer to having the body that I want, we definitely need to give her a little bit of a belly because she's a little too svelte. And when I'm saying her, I mean the dragon bat. I'm not talking about Safiya. I see how it can be confusing, but please don't take it the wrong way. She needs curves, okay? The dragon needs curves. Safiya's, you know what? You grades are making me say this. Safiya has a really pretty body. So let's just put that out there. I'm talking about the dragon thing now. So in order to make the texture, I'm going to be using, oh, you grades can't see this little mesh looking thing, which was pretty much just wrapped around my garlic. You can smooth it onto the body. It'll give you a nice subtle texture, but you know that it is there. And then I'm going to go in with the ball tool and add some shading with Pearl-Ex powders. She is looking absolutely adorable. I think so far I am really in love with her. Hopefully I don't mess it up because I have a tendency to do that. You know, the whole thing between us where we keep saying,
Jackie, you're doing it wrong.
More often than not, your grains are absolutely right. Now I'm going to be putting her in the oven, but before doing that, I'm going to add 2 cute little fangs. I mean, come on, she's a bat, right? And a couple of spikes here and there just to kind of mimic the idea of the thorns. And spikes too, because it's a dragon and a bat. And the merch thorn from the roses. There's a lot of elements I'm putting in there. Good job, Jackie. Now it's time to put her in the oven, and I am so scared right now because the same problem we had from the beginning, even though I thought I stabilized it, the answer is nay, I absolutely did it wrong. Let me show you what it is. As you can see, it looks cute, right? But no, she's still wanting to lean towards the back. So I'm going to have to put a couple of supports and cross my fingers, but we all know that crossing our fingers is not enough, so let's put our hands together. Dear baking gods of Evermore, please protect my piece from cracks, burns, and fallen limbs. And also,
stop breaking my stuff!
A few moments later.
The baking gods have blessed us with a fully standing piece. Of course, I had to take precautions. Alright, before we continue, we need to look historically at my biggest flaws. In the past, I've always started really strong, but my weakest points have always been finishing the sculptures. Even the sculptures that I absolutely love, I look back on and I'm like, holy carp, what was I even thinking? And so I really want to take my time. So far, I've spent about 10 hours getting to this point, and I feel like I have at least another 10, maybe 15 hours to go to complete everything else. Previously, I've also done quite a few dragons, but every time I've done wings, I've always done them in a very basic kind of way, which is the armature triangle and then a kind of sheet right in between. But for this one, because I want her to be sturdy and bat-like, I'm going to try a completely different method because I don't want this to break. And she's looking adorable. Let's not mess this up, Drains. Well, it's not you, really, it's me. But since my promise to myself is I really want to make this gorgeous. All right, keep going. Here's where choices get a little more difficult. Do I want this creature to be more bunny-like, or do I want it to have a lizardy type feel? Fear is working too. Because bats are mammals, it's really important for me to still get that across while it's still a dragon. And so I made a mock-up of lizardy type divisions. So if I were to make it into 3 divisions, it would kind of look like this. And I'll be honest, it doesn't look right. Whereas if I go with the bunny type feel, I would end up putting the foot right behind here, which honestly feels like it works a lot better. So did I put this wire here for nothing? Most probably. Will I need to cut it and touch it up? Most definitely. Any regrets? Better safe than sorry. The feet have been set aside. They're only going to be glued in at the end once everything's put together. But we've hit another roadblock. See, the problem with these wings is that it's a uniform shape. When in fact, when I'm consulting my sculpting book, which is this book here that I got last time I was in Japan, it is extremely inspiring if you really like monsters. But if you don't like monsters, don't get it. Immediately what I see over here is that the wing should go straight and then make that little V, upside down V shape. And what I have here so far is just a V shape. I am so scared to touch this right now because it might actually break. Not the wire, but it might break the sculpture if I start yanking it. So we're gonna have to be very delicate, which is something I'm not. Let's do this together because I need support. Alright, so let's do the doing. This part needs to come down. I don't want to hurt her ears. Oh my god. Like so. And now we bring this back up like this. So here are the wings. I absolutely love this technique. Well, you know what? I can't really say I love this technique because we are nowhere done with the wings yet. Oh, the Salt wants to play. Look, there are so many mishaps today. Salt, if you want to come out and play, I will allow it. So as I'm fiddling with the wings, you can see that it's starting to be pretty fidgety and it wants to come off from the socket itself. Hello there, Safiya Bat Dragon. I'm Jackie. Nice to meet you. Yep, she totally does not look impressed. I promise that is everyone's face when they meet me. So as you can see, trying to work on the wings by just doing it on top was going to result in another disaster where it's just going to fall. As I was working on it on the desk, it was a lot easier, but one thing nobody tells you really when you're working with clay is that after long minutes of smoothing and smoothing and smoothing
And smoothing.
I was finally able to get something decent looking. So as this is our base, the important part now is to start building the different shapes and textures. And since I'm using my book as a guide, I'm really hoping I can get somewhere with this. At this point, I am on my last block of this graphite clay. Hear me good? So help me. Now, since the other wing really wanted nothing to do with staying put, I had no choice but to try and think of something clever. Goodness knows, I could be clever sometimes. But holy moly, look how amazing she looks. Right now, I'm going to be putting her in the oven for about 30 minutes. And then we're on the final stretch, baby. Yes, you greens are babies now. Just for now, because you'll always be greens though. Alright, so the few things that could have gone wrong definitely went wrong. This wing fell off, which I kind of have I really had an idea. I don't want to show my face right now because I just woke up. I worked until like 2 in the morning and this part here tore off completely. I mean, look at this. Yeah. So I'm going to have to spend some time repairing her, trying to bring this back up, seal the deal, and cross our fingers that the baking gods stop breaking our stuff.
Captain's log day 4. The beast thinks it's more cleverer than I am, but I shall win it, if it is the last thing I do.
I know I look like poo, but bear with me here. I've been working on this thing for all sorts of different hours, whether it be at like 2 in the morning or 6 a.m. And I know I said I wanted the base to be woodsy, but it just doesn't feel right. So in order to do the well, I'm actually going to make it in bricks. I think bricks makes the most sense. And I took a gray that is kind of greenish, and I'm going to mix it with a silvery gray. The reason I chose a green is because we're going to be adding moss, we're going to be adding plants. There should in some way be green somewhere so that we have a sense of cohesiveness. And since the well is going to be part of the floor will just be a brick floor continuation with moss. I really love moss, so Safiya Bat Dragon, you're getting mossy things. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I have goosebumps. Oh my gosh, where did this thing come from? Holy carp. It just walked towards me. Can you go away, please? Oh my god, I can't work. No, please, no. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it climbs glass, no. Captain's log number 2. The beast has brought friends. I can't deal with this. I can deal with snakes. I can deal with lizards. I can deal with frogs. Heck, I can deal with bats. I can deal with beetles. I just can't deal with spiders. And the thing is, I can't smush anything. So I'm gonna put a piece of paper under that jar and evict it. I'm so scared right now. I could do many oh, it just like jumped. No, if you don't hear from me, send help. Now that the well is done, I'm really happy with it, but I'm still really paranoid that things are just going to crumble because that's just how things work with me all the time. It is now time to make our roses. If you want to see great tutorials on how to make roses, I'll link some in the description box below. So what I ended up doing is making every single rose by hand. Was it tedious? Yes. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Now, if we look at the merch, there are 2 different kinds. Well, technically 3, but we'll get to that. The first one is the roses attached to the stems. And so with that design in mind, I'm going to keep some of the roses on the well actually attached to the attached to the stem, attached to the well. Wow, English today? Absolutely number 1. Next, there's merch with a pair of scissors going straight to the flower, which is pretty much signifying kind of like Morticia cutting the roses right off of the stems. And that's where I'm going to be laying some just rose heads. Is that the term? Because I'm going to assume that's the term. So some of those roses will just be scattered and fallen on the floor. And the third method, because I think I'm clever, is the merch itself can be worn. And so that's where I'm going to be putting some roses on the Bat Dragon herself. So she's technically going to be wearing the merch. Not literally, but not figuratively either. She's just going to be wearing roses, okay? If you have a problem with that, you come here and fight me, because I can fight. You want me to bring my chicken? Okay, fine, wait here. See? You made me do it. You made me bring the ultimate chicken fighter. You abandoned me in a fight? Angel, I need your backup. Bring your feathery butt over here. You see? Now I have backup, and he's gonna take you grains on. Oh, you're not supposed to fight me. You're supposed to fight them. Now I know that even though I said the stem and the rose is connected, what I mean is that they're together. I know that the pieces are technically cut off, but they're still together, but not together, connected together. Holy carp, we are down for the final bake, which means that we're also going to be baking the feet that we made so that we can glue it back on, and also the other wing, which means that there is so much potential failure that we have to absolutely must pray to the baking gods. Please listen to me today, just today. Dear baking gods of Evermore, I know I'm just a little grain, but please protect my piece from cracks, burns, and especially fallen limbs. But more specifically,
Stop breaking my stuff!
while the piece is baking, let's go ahead and make some gems. And I do want to mimic the black natural diamond that Tyler got for her, which isn't a solid black. It has a kind of translucenty, grayish gem feel to it. So for that, I'm going to be taking my UV resin, some iridescent glitter, mix them up, and put them into different molds. When it comes to UV resin, you can easily harden it, and if you don't know the texture, think of it as like a glassy plastic. So once it's hardened, it's there for good. You shall not destroy it. So you can either put it under the sunlight for about 30-40 minutes, or if you're like me and you like to speed things up, you can use a UV light. And that's what we're gonna do. Right there, press the button, and it's ready in 1 minute. Let's make a few of them. Holy carp, she is looking absolutely fantastic. Now we're going to fast forward, add some details by adding some color shift paint that was recommended to me by my friend Ace of Clay, adding the gems inside the well, and putting a brown wash on the rocks at the bottom. Here she is, all done. I absolutely love her. Don't think this was an easy task. I spent well over 40 hours working on this sculpture. I did promise myself and you grains that I would spend a lot more time on detail, and I think I did okay. Let me know, do you think I got Safiya spot on, or make sure to vote. Remember, go to Safiya's latest video and let her know NerdECrafter turned you into a bat. I really would love for her to see it because it's her. She should see herself. Well, she better check herself. Again, a huge thank you to Dragon City for sponsoring this video. The theme of dragon was just so perfect. If you want to watch a previous crafty video, make sure you check it up here. And if you want to watch a video that YouTube thinks is just the height for you, make sure you check it out down here. Until then, I will see you grains in the next video.